Welcome to the Curious is Better podcast. I am Craig Lamb with Invative, and today I'm joined with Deepak Sharma. He's the VP of IT at Dependable Supply Chain Services. Thanks for joining, Deepak.
Hi, thank you.
Hey, listen, I wanted to jump right in because you and I had spoken before about this, and the reason I wanted you on the podcast because I think it's so important is that particularly in your industry, there's been just a ton of emerging tech, whether it's in robotics, pick and place, IoT, AI. And you've been surrounded by this stuff before they were mainstream, and and your role is not typical in your industry to have an explicit VP of IT. So I was curious first, is like how do you identify technologies that are going to work for you versus hype, and like how do you vet those for your company?
Sure. So I've been in the supply chain industry for nearly 2 decades now. And one of the things that in supply chain is the margins are not huge, unlike some other industries. So profitability is always something as number one for us, for any supply chain company. And when you look at technology, you don't want to, a supply chain company doesn't want to be on the bleeding edge of technology. You don't want to be the first movers to try and adopt the latest and greatest. The way we approach it is, I've approached it in the last 2 decades, is to watch technology, see what's happening, see how companies are leveraging it, uh, look at the ROI that the technology can giving or can give. So do all of those analysis, collect all the data, and then at a right time, it could be 1 year, could be 2 years, could be 3 years after technology has entered the mainstream, before you make a decision of bringing it into your own company and leveraging it to improve the bottom line, improve efficiency, customer
So
satisfaction.
so you're saying that like you evaluate based on maturity, and maturity is a number of things. You can see like industry adoption, right? How many times it's been iterated, like the maturity of the actual tech stack. And then you had mentioned in there, you kind of whispered it in there, but and then the ROI. So like who it's affecting, and what can be improved by that. So you run a calculation. This isn't just your gut. Like you use some math. You're like, okay, this is how I can tell.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You really can't use the gut, frankly, because it'd be too expensive if you make in the wrong decision. So we collect all these numbers, not just numbers, but even experiences of people. Podcasts like these that we also listen to see how other companies are implementing the technology, and then make a decision based on that. And even then, we'll take very small steps. We'll do POC, we'll do various mini projects before we actually bring it into the mainstream.
Yeah. So you just tapped on something you and I spoke before, and I love this. Is that when you pick it up? Because my question is going to be around how you vet, these vendors and these tools, like what's real, what's theater. But you do something that I don't hear a lot of, I don't hear often, but I love it. Is that you invite people in for these tiny POCs, like right where the implementations are controlled implementations. Talk about that and how you kind of follow that discipline.
Yeah. I'll give a real life example. Back about 7, 8 years ago, when IoT was coming up in the market and becoming more and more popular. We also, at that time, worked for a company called Agility Logistics. So at that time, we decided to look into what an IoT is. What does it do? How does it function? What does it need to work? The cost of it, and so on. So I did a pretty thorough analysis of that, shortlisted 3 companies that we wanted to work with. And the way we arrived at that decision as to what company to work with is based on, in an IoT, there's something called battery life, the size of the device, the kind of sensing it has. We validated all those and chose 3 companies that we thought were a good fit. And we worked with them we did a POC with them being involved as well, to test out the device, not just in terms of the device itself, but the functionality of the device is there. Does it really add value, or will it help our business to better monitor shipments? Will it help our customers to actually get the data they're looking for? And the POC was not just limited to vendor, but also the business that was involved in it, as well as a couple of customers. So we have customers who participate with us on technology trends, so that they can also get the benefit from it, and they also learn from it. So POCs were really crucial in making determination or decision of what IoT device to go with, and also very important from the customer's perspective. We took that into account, what they would like to see in terms of data, and also business, what they would like to see in terms of data. All those things, that whole POC took about 6 to 8 months. That we finally finalized. We have a decision which partner, what vendor to go with, and then we rolled it out with the rest of the.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And again, you mentioned a couple of things there that I think are super important. Where you talk about POCs, and again, I'm being super generic, but let's say it's like a SaaS type of situation, or it's an independent tool or an integrated tool into your network, whatever it is. It's still a product, right? So you could POC that product, and then you could see what that value might be through their trial or their POC. You got two questions though. Is like, have any ever backed out of that? POC didn't go well. Then I'll tee it up. I'm not going to make it smoke and mirrors. And then what do you do if it's a custom, or not just a customization on a product, but something that's completely customer from your head? And the reason I'm asking too is like when you do these the POCs, is like sometimes the demos can go unbelievably well, right? It's like, but then once they're in the trials of the day to day speed, accuracy, all these things that are like super important, and then they don't go well. How far are you in that implementation of the POC? Like,
Right. That is a good question. Uh, I'll give you two real life examples of POC that we took on and then we abandoned. And then, of course, a POC we took on and continued with it, and how that evolved. One of the POC that we did was in blockchain. So I personally attended a 6-month course on blockchain to understand from an academic standpoint what blockchain is, how does it work, the value it brings to the table, and so on. And then we did a POC. We selected a company to which we wanted to do a POC with blockchain. But even before the POC could start, we started realizing that there are, on paper, looked like a great idea, and I'm sure it is a great idea. And there are companies that are able to leverage it. And when we try to introduce a supply chain, we started hitting all sorts of roadblocks, which look okay on paper or in theory, but in real life, they were not really working very well. So after about 6 months, 6 to 8 months, we had abandoned that POC and decided we're not going to do anything with blockchain. The other POC that we did, again, coming back to IoT, vendor we selected was great. They had the sensors that we wanted in the devices, we're getting the data that was needed, and so on. But one thing we did not evaluate was the battery life, in terms of not just battery life, but in terms of what happens to the device when it reaches the destination. And those devices at that time, that when we were selected, were not so cheap that we could throw them away. But they had to be retrieved. And then we would lose devices, we wouldn't get them back. And the cost of getting the device back was more than the value it had, and so on. So after like nearly 2.5 years, we moved to another vendor, where we then realized that what we had not evaluated in the POC was how do you manage the device itself. So then we moved to disposable IoT devices. But that kind of market had even matured even more. The disposable devices are like a few dollars versus much more expensive than the previous one. But then we had to make changes.
yeah, that's a really good story too, because it's like the POC didn't fail, but it allowed you to reevaluate where the value was in either the vendor or in this case, a device, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's almost like kind of a little bit of a pep talk for companies to say, don't be afraid to do a POC or a trial, but just don't go in there with saying it's definitely going to work either.
Yeah. There's so many, in technology, there's so many elements, so many angles that you possibly, in most cases, can't judge each and every one of them. They will keep, they will stay open to making changes, to recognize the fact that yes, we missed something, therefore we now need to address it, versus being stubborn and just carry on until it makes no sense to use it.
Yeah, I want to pivot, Deepak, into some stuff that you and I talked about. I think it was like a week ago. We were talking about AI in the industry, right? Because I was telling you about the prevalence. Everybody's just coming to us with AI to build into different systems. So I asked you your opinion, and you were saying that there's some stuff that you're seeing benefits from now, like customer service, frontline operators and stuff. But you were talking about the importance of data accuracy and trust, right? Because supply chain really just relies on data. Do you have any advice for anybody that's kind of embarking in the 3PL, 4PL logistics distribution? Doesn't I mean, but data heavy, right? Do you have any advice for them as they embark on?
Yeah, I personally have been uh, monitoring AI the last more than a year now. Of course, we use it to some extent. I personally use it, of course. A company that right now does not make much use of it. What I've been doing personally is reading a lot from McKinsey and many other organizations who are publishing a lot of white papers on AI use cases, how to really leverage in different verticals and so on. But we ourselves have not yet done anything with it. We're still looking into what the value AI brings. Like you mentioned, data is one of the most critical elements in supply chain. And that's why technology plays a critical role for it. And we can't afford to tell our customers that your consignment will show up on a Thursday at 9 a.m. and then 2 weeks later still haven't received it. Therefore, the accuracy of data is crucial. And the reason it becomes even more difficult in supply chain is if somebody enters the wrong data into the system, then obviously the customer gets the wrong information. So accuracy of data is critical. And one way we are addressing that is using technology to update data, like IoT, for example. Where we know that where the consignment is, how far it is, how long it take to get there, and so on. The other, of course, is when a customer calls, then the CSR, the customer representative, needs to be able to give the right information to the customer. That's where we're looking at AI to see how we can leverage AI in assuming that we have the exact correct data in the system. And then the CSR or even a chatbot could give the answer to the customer with us knowing that they're getting the right answer versus finding it out later the answer is wrong. So
I'm sorry to interrupt because like this has come up now a few times. Do you think that's a really big opportunity in logistics? Is that through customer service reps and quality of data reported? Do you think that's a huge opportunity where AI can step in the industry?
yeah, this is especially, I believe, especially useful in many large corporations which have got multiple WMSs, for example, the warehouse management system. I know of large organizations that are as many as 15 WMSs running in their organization because they've been acquiring different companies and they end up with multiple systems. For organizations like that, AI is a huge opportunity because it can literally go across all these 15 systems, bring up the data, and provide this one single answer to the CSR. In our organization is not that bad. Yeah, we do have just one major WMS system that we use. Our challenge tends to be to make sure the data going into the system is accurate. Therefore, what the CSR says is accurate. So far, we have technology implemented, but we still need more technology to come in that allows us to update the data more efficiently. For example, when a container comes to the warehouse, we would want the recording of the container, what date and time it came. That data goes directly to the WMS versus somebody having to scan some barcode or something like that before they can update the data. So we want to automate that. We have the technology to do the humanity scan and update. But we are trying to get to the next level where the moment it comes in, automatically gets the time it came in gets triggered, data and time, and gets straight to the WMS without anybody having to do anything. So that's what you're trying to get to. And once you get to that point, using AI to give answers to customers, we will know for sure that what they're getting is 100% correct because there was no manual intervention to enter the data into the system where
Sure.
things need to go wrong.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So listen, I know that you're still investigating AI tools in a lot of different areas, not just CSRs and stuff like that, but you and I were talking about where I think when I spoke to you before, I was like, oh yeah, I've done some IoT in the warehouse. You're like, oh yeah, did it. We've done all that. We've done all that. It's like, so you guys are real tech forward. How do you determine after something goes live out of POC and it's a new technology and there's the adoption cycle, of course, and all that other stuff. But then how do you evaluate where the value is? Where's the ROI? How do you know it was a good one versus a bad one? Or if it's a branch on a tree to get you somewhere else.
Right.
How do you do the evaluation of it?
Yeah. The standard answer and anybody would give is we just look at the bottom line. Just make sure that we make the costs have gone down and so on. But I really believe that for any technology, there are 3 or 4 major areas that need to be addressed. First, of course, is the bottom line. You don't bring in technology just to make it look nice. You bring it because it adds value. It means it reduces costs, improves efficiency, and so on. But that's, of course, is always going to be there. That's something that we always calculate before making any kind of technology decision. The other ones are one is how does it help employees? The CSR who's spending 10 hours a day doing his or her work, will technology help that person do their work easier, better, with higher quality, and most importantly, more satisfaction? So nobody likes to sit in and go to 15 different systems to try and get some data answers so that they can update the customer. To like us easier way of getting that stuff done. See, we look at technology also from that aspect, where how will it help the end user, not just the customer, but our own users within the business, so they can do their job easier. Second is how will it help from a technology front end? We don't want our support guys spending 12 hours a day answering tickets and trying to resolve problems. How will it help them by bringing in technologies so they don't have to do all that kind of boring work just to uh, address a help desk ticket that a user had to open because they didn't have that information. So that's a second one. Third one, of course, is management or executive. How do they get visibility? We have multiple warehouses. You can't expect the executive to be visiting each one to figure out what's going on. So how will this technology create all the data together and provide them with dashboards that make sense? Be able to predict what kind of questions they may be having. So that's where AI will come in. So it will be able to give them the answers, even though. And right now, the current dashboard that we have, a static dashboard, we agree on X number of KPI, we show them to the executive. But with AI coming in, executive might want to see something different for what we're showing them. And that's where AI the things like that. It's not just ROI is always going to be there. That's companies have to have their ROIs. The profitability has to be there, but there also has to be call it fun to work, to enjoy your work. When you leveraging technology to be able to get the answer you're looking for, that the customer is asking, or the manager is asking, and so on. So everybody actually benefits from the technology, not just customer. Customers, of course, are the number one who need to benefit. But there are many other stakeholders who can also benefit depending upon if the right technology.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's just really in a nutshell. As far as the company is concerned, globally, it's a company, like a global view for the company, right? Employees, customers, leadership, like where make sure it benefits or hit checks as many boxes as it possibly can. Listen, I wanted to ask you a question just a little bit. It's in line, but it's also doesn't have anything to do with tech. It's got to do with human people, just humans and emotions. We talked about AI and like this kind of this undertone of rhetoric where it's just like, well, if we have AI get into CSRs and then we get into pick and place and packing fishes, are these people going to lose their jobs? Right? I don't believe that's true. I think it frees them up to do better things, more fulfilling things, more efficient things. Um, how do you see the world? I'm interested in your opinion too. How do you see the world of like introducing AI without triggering concerns to maybe the less technical people, that less technical audience that see it as an imposition on their value?
But yeah, that's a good question. In fact, I had the exact same discussion a couple of weeks ago. The Our VP of operations and the VP of our CSRs. Um, because I basically talked to my senior leadership and we agreed that we need to start looking at AI. We're not looking at kicking off a POC. And so when I went to talk to the VP of operations, the first thing I told him was we're looking at AI to be leveraged in the CSR area, vertical. And there's no intention to reduce any jobs. That's not the reason we're doing it. Doing it, I, of course, explain why we're doing it. The same exact thing I told the CSR manager about it. That to her, Susan, that we're going to do this project, and the intention is not to let go of anybody, but to improve or maybe easier what the CSRs do today. Both knew I was not making it up. The genuine statement that I made. Then now we are working with them. They're putting together the data we asked for them to provide to us. But to answer your question, AI is, it may, let's put it this way, if AI gets implemented in our company, let's say at the end of this year, and we have the whole thing done with CSR department, most probably we will not recruit more CSRs unless we triple our business, something, and AI can't take care of that load. But there's definitely no intention of removing people because the use of AI comes in when an intelligent or experienced user is using it. And you have to ask the right question to be able to get the right answer. And you need experience in doing that as well. And at the end of the day, AI cannot replace a human being. So the customer will say that I want to talk to somebody. You're not going to ask me to talk to a computer. He will be, he expects somebody from our side to pick up the phone and actually answer his question, which may not even be related to AI in any way. So definitely it's a concern, but it's not, I put, at least within our organization, we have no intention of reducing manpower just because we brought AI in. And we start the discussion with that statement. So everybody knows we're not just doing it to cut costs, anything like that.
I'll tell you what, Deepak, it's like I would lay money down if we could fast forward 5 years. People that were like, I don't want AI in my job role. They in 5 years from now, they won't accept a job that doesn't have an AI assistant in their job role. Want to bet? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because it'll become some tool where the fear will diminish because it's like, oh, we use it here. Because there's so many human elements that can't be replaced through that
exactly.
use skills, right? So, but I think it's going to go from resistance to a requirement, like an essential requirement in that job role in short order.
Right, right.
I appreciate your
Maybe
insights.
there's one more tool for the employee to do. That's it.
Exactly right. You're exactly right. Well, Deepak, I want to thank you for joining today. This was awesome. This is a great discussion. I love having these things, and I want to thank everybody for listening again to the Curious is Better podcast. This is Deepak Sharma. He's the VP of IT from Dependable Supply Chain Services. I'm sorry. Again, thanks for joining, Deepak. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.